Hey, Nikki Brown here, no matter where you are, no matter what part of the world you're in. I hope that you're having a good day. Historically, there has always been a very strong disdain for intelligent and confident women who look like me. Women in general, but most definitely women who look like me, because even women who don't look like me can exhibit the same behaviors sometimes, right? This could be in the workplace. This could be in your family. People don't like it when you have joy. Even if you don't say anything about your intelligence, or if you have a degree, even if you don't say anything about your degree, people can still see it. People can still feel it. People still know it. And they will hate on you. And you've not done anything wrong, right? In your mind, you're doing everything right. You're there to help out the organization, or, maybe help someone in the family. Maybe someone in the family has a health issue and you're a scientist. And you're like, oh, I can create this formula to help you X, Y, and Z, right? They look at that as bragging when all you're doing is saying, I have something that can help you, right? Because it makes them feel insecure on the inside. It makes them feel jealous. It makes them feel intimidated for the lack of knowledge that they have, or because they decided not to go down the same path, or for whatever reason they feel like I'm not as intelligent. Because again, historically, that strong or that confident or that intelligent person was manipulated and taken advantage of in certain situations by certain people, right? We all know history, right? And so there's this idea that you shouldn't be those things, but typically only people with a poverty mindset think this way. People who are wealthy do not think this way. People who are wealthy have intelligent conversations with their children, right? They explain things to their children, whereas people who have a poverty mindset will say, be quiet, a child should be seen and not heard, money doesn't go on trees, right? All these limiting beliefs are planted in the psyche, are planted in the mind. We're told all these different things that we should or should not do. But again, wealthy families don't operate that way, right? They let their children have choices. Again, they will communicate, okay, if you touch the stove when it's hot, you could potentially get hurt. Whereas again, someone with a poverty mindset, you better not do that no more. I told you, you better not. There's more of a control or dominance, that you're supposed to stay small. You're supposed to stay in a certain place. And if you get hurt, I don't have time to go to the hospital. I don't have time to go to the doctor. I don't have the money to go to the doctor. So you better not do this, that, and the other to hurt me, or make me have to do this and that, to miss out time from work, or whatever it is, whatever that mindset or mentality is behind it. And even if the immediate parent doesn't think that way, it could potentially be the mindset of the grandparent, the great-grandparent, because a lot of our thoughts are not our own, right? These thoughts have been passed down for generations and generations. 30 years is a generation. So we're talking hundreds of years, right? So several generations. People keep saying 400 years, which really isn't quite accurate, but we'll go with that. Right? And then, a lot of times when you speak on certain things, or again, if you're just happy, if you just have joy, who does she think she is? Really? So then if this person is in a position of power, now they're trying to play God. And again, this could be a parent. This could be a leader at work. Because who do you think you are that you have joy and I don't? How could you possibly smile when you don't even have half of what I have? You're not married. You don't have the biggest house that I have. You don't have the 3 cars that I own. How could you possibly have all this joy, have all this confidence? And again, even if you have a degree and this person has a degree as well, how dare you? You know, especially if you achieved a degree that is higher than they did. Well, who do you think? Why? You know, what made you do that? How did you have the courage? How did you have the stamina? How did you have the tenacity to complete the task when I didn't? When I decided to get married and have 5 kids and be a housewife and defer my dreams? Because a lot of times that's what it is. It's a dream deferred. How dare you accomplish the goals that you set out to accomplish in life when I didn't, when I couldn't? So now I'm mad at you because you did something that I didn't have the courage and the confidence to do. Now you make me feel intimidated because I know you can see through me. You know that I can see through the fact that maybe I'm not as smart as I portray myself to be, although I'm in this leadership role. So now I'm going to try to belittle you. Again, play God, right? God, ancestor, universe, divine mother, father, creator, source, energy, whichever word whatever word or term you use to describe the Most High. Yeshua, Yahweh, right? Source energy, whatever you call the creator of what is. Let there be, right? So how dare you? And people will lie on you, and they will make you, again, they will try to belittle you or make you, you know, because even just something as simple as, hey, hello, how are you today? How dare you have that confidence to speak to me when other people are like, oh, yes, boss. Oh, yeah, I'll do this for you. I'll bend over backwards. I'll let you use some Vaseline on me. You know, that's what they're used to. They want you to feel small around them because they have this man-appointed title. Right? Not for nothing, even mother, father is a man-appointed title. Right? This doesn't come from the divine. There was no such thing. Right? This mother and father are English words. That is not the original language definitely not of the United States. That's not one of the original languages. So for an elder, you would like an elder. And so one of the words in Algonquin was Nokomis, right? Which means wise woman. So again, there was no mother or father. It was like elder, wise elder, who has, you know, can share wisdom and help me navigate this thing that they, you know, that we're in. This realm, this spectrum, right? This universe. It wasn't diminished by a word like, oh, you're just the mother or the father and you just run the household, right? We roamed majority of the land, right? So our titles, this man-appointed title diminished us because Source gave us the land, the whole world, to freely roam around, especially when all the continents were attached, right? And so now you have this diminished title that it's just applying to your households. And that the government is really the daddy because there is no mom, because they took the mom out when they created the cross, because the cross is a phallic symbol, right? But that's a whole nother topic that I'm not going to get into, because I know that certain things that I say, sometimes it goes over people's head, and that's not me trying to be funny. Somebody recently told me that, like, some of the things that you say just go over my head. I can't relate to them because I'm not on that level, and understandably so. We're all on different levels, And a lot of times I just do my best to educate people and let people know what's going on. Some people wake up to it. Sometimes it happens right away. Some people are already on the same page. Sometimes it takes months. Sometimes it takes years. Some people never get it at all. Right? But I do what I'm told, which is to at least put the information out there. Right? And so that's it. This is, I don't think I'm better than anybody, right? There's no human being on earth that is better than another human being. Again, this is something that you were programmed and conditioned to think. This is not true. Right? There's nothing about that is true. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we are supposed to bring those strengths and weaknesses together and help one another. So say, for example, we were agrarian or agricultural societies, right? So one person might be good at growing corn. Another person might be good at baling hay, and tending to the livestock, right? And another person might be good at, setting up a marketplace. So we were all supposed to bring those skills together to make it happen for the community. It was all about the community and not, again, the individual family, mother, father, this is our household and I'm only concerned about me and mine type of thing. That's not how it was supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be community. I went fishing. I have plenty of fish for the whole village, for the whole community, the whole tribe, the whole clan, whatever it was, and we're all going to eat. Right? This was the mentality before the colonists came, or the European came and colonized. First they came as our friend. Oh, you're so friendly. And this is another thing, we're taught not to be so friendly because this means you can be taken advantage of or manipulated. But that's not quite how it goes, right? You can be kind, but you use your discernment. You use your, what they call, women's intuition. And you can feel it. You can tell when something is not right, when someone is off. You may not know the exact words that they said. You may not know the exact things that they did behind your back, but you know when something is off. Trust that instinct. Trust that intuition. Right? And so when they do something that is off, you watch them. You let them see how far they can go and get away with it. Or you distance yourself from this person, or completely go no contact. Whatever it is that you need to do to protect yourself. Back in the day, they may have been stoned. Again, whatever you need to do to protect yourself. Nowadays, again, if someone's good at accounting, another person is good at administrative work. Another person may be good at, actually setting up the business. Another person may be good at writing legal contracts. And, the reading and writing portion of the business or whatever it is. Because we're supposed to own businesses. And it's better if we own those businesses together. But again, we don't understand that because we're told, oh, just go to work. And so when you suggest starting a business with someone, they think that it's all about money for you. Well, I remember when I first started my business and I told my cousin, I was like, oh, this is a family business and I want us to, do this together. I was like, just give me $50. I'll make a bunch of products for you. You set up a table, you sell it, just to get the name out there. She went and tried to start the same business on her own. And of course it didn't work out. And I'm like, this is not street competition. And that's another thing. Like, people will compare themselves to you or secretly try to compete with you, which is so silly. That is not what we are supposed to be doing. But people don't get it. They don't know that. And it's so sad. Having all the knowledge that I have about how things should be, it's like sitting back watching a movie. And when somebody does or says something that is of an unrighteous nature, and this is not me judging, this is an observation. When I see someone do something that is of an unrighteous nature, it is sad. It's like watching a sad movie. because you're on the outside looking in, and these people are completely oblivious. They think they're getting over on you and being so slick, or they're being nice, nasty at the same time, and thinking that this is how they should show up in the world to protect themselves. It's so sad. They automatically assume that someone's out to get them, or that someone's going to cheat them. And they have absolutely no trust. Most people do not trust. And I will admit that I am at a place too where I don't trust, but it's because I watch people and what they do. I had someone, I'm not even going to go into the story, because people would probably figure out who it is that I'm talking about. Not that it matters, but I'll tell that story at a later date. Right? But, because people know they can't be trusted. So then they also have trust issues because of that as well. And again, a lot of times you may be that person who's just trying to be helpful. You are a trustworthy person, but they don't know that. So they treat you as if you're not. Or they try to find ways to manipulate you. And again, they think they're being smart and they're out so clever. They're outwitting you and, getting over on you. But where, again, if you're on the same level or as close to the same level that I'm on, you're seeing what they're actually doing and they're not getting away with it. It's like smiling in somebody's face saying, bless your heart, and you have a knife in their bag. That's what it's like. There's so many people trying to play God. And they're trying to steal from you, even if it's just your energy. Let me be around this person and see how they operate so I can imitate them. But the joy comes from inside. It doesn't come from you watching somebody necessarily. You really have to go through it, right? People have no idea what I've been through. They have no idea how I got to the place of where I am right now, where I can genuinely have joy, despite all the things that are going on around me, despite all the things that people try to do to provoke me or sabotage me, right? And if they really are, quote unquote, successful, first of all, the karma comes back to them sometimes immediately, and sometimes I actually get to watch, right? If not, usually later on down the line, I will hear about it some kind of way, some shape, form, or fashion, right? And if they are successful, they think it's so funny that they did this. But usually what happens is something better comes along. Something great happens. So all they did is push the timeline forward for the good things to come in. Because a lot of times we're in situations, we're in relationships, we're at jobs that we have no business being at, right? Especially not for nothing, because again, this is not about being better than someone. But a lot of times, especially as people who look like me, we will end up training somebody to do a job that we should be being paid to do because we're overqualified. And it's not even about a degree. If you were in a certain industry for 10, 20, 30 years and you know it like the back of your hand, and you've done all the refresher courses and stayed abreast of what's new and what's innovative, right? You again know it like the back of your hand. But somebody else, because they're friends with so-and-so, this nepotism, favoritism, these things happen, all the time, right? So someone who's not qualified at all, but again, because they're just cool, they brown nose their way up, maybe slept their way to the top or whatever it is, because that's what people feel like they need to do. brown nose and, put sugarcoat things to make themselves, be something that they're really not, right? It's very seldom are they really that person. They're just pretending, and they feel like their pretending is, and it works for a lot of people. It does get them to where they want to be, in the man world, but not in the, in the spiritual realm, because that's two different things. Because, the Most High will let you get all the way to the top and then drop you all the way down. Because all those people you tried to humble or make them feel less than you, and all of the different things that people trying to do, right? So anyway, we end up training the people who are not qualified to do the job that we should have been promoted to or hired for. So we're overqualified for the job that we're currently doing, and we're being used to train someone else, or we're doing their job for them. Right? How many of us have been in that situation where we're doing the job that the leader or someone in a higher paying position should be doing, but they're using us as a flunky because they have no idea what they're doing, and you do, so they're going to make you do it. So it's either you do it or you don't have a job anymore, because then they'll do something petty and spiteful, to get you out because you didn't want to do. Or they'll hold on to you. They may still be petty and spiteful, but they'll hold on to you because, again, they have no idea what you're doing. And if you're not there anymore, who's going to do it? Because nobody else knows how to do this thing but you. So then they'll be lost in the sauce trying to figure it out, and they don't want their job to be in jeopardy. Although a lot of times these type of leaders, they just get transferred to another department. Some of them do get fired, but a lot of these companies, they just protect them and they just move them around, and all these different things. Again, the nepotism, the favoritism, whatever it is. So, so again, a lot of times we're overqualified, whether it means that you have a degree, multiple degrees, or you just have the work experience and skills. You're overqualified but being underpaid because, again, you make people feel insecure, or less than, or they're afraid you're going to take their job. That is the craziest thing, that somebody would think that. But you know what? A lot of times the very thing that people fear, and the fact that they're trying to block you, sometimes it ends up happening anyway, because they're going so hard to try to stop and block you. And again, people forget there's a power much higher than the CEO of the company, right? There's a much higher power. It's spiritual warfare, right? There's something going on that you have no knowledge of, or that is unseen, unknown. And again, what is in the dark always comes to the light. So they think they're being slick and they're getting away with something, but they're not remembering. There's a whole spiritual realm that knows everything. Omnipotent, omnipresent, all the omnis, right? You forgot about that part. And it is especially sad when it's somebody religious and they call themselves going to church and they do the most unrighteous things imaginable. And again, a lot of people are operating out of fear. There are people who grew up without electricity, without running water, without a flushing toilet, right? And so they have decided that they're never going to go into this situation again. And so they do whatever it is that they feel they need to do to prevent them from backsliding and, being in that type of situation. Although they don't realize they have survival techniques, right? That they can share with other people and teach other people, right? And help other people. The more help the more people you help with the knowledge and skills that you have. These are basic life skills that so many people need. If the electrical grid went out right now, right? Most people will panic because they have no idea what to do. But if you have that knowledge and skill, why not teach people? Why are you using it to be afraid and like, oh my God, that means I was so impoverished that, I was less than, and I didn't keep up with the Joneses. I had to wear hand-me-downs and that. These are survival techniques. How many people? So right now it's a Monday morning. Some people have gone to work. But I'm going to show you the Walmart parking lot, right? All these cars you see are people who have been here all overnight. Right? And I'm not trying to put anybody on blast, but you see how foggy the windows are? Those people are in their sleep or they have the windows covered up, right? Last weekend, there was about 40 cars out here, right? Sometimes there are RVs out here. Of course, the truck drivers are out. But these people aren't in Walmart shopping. They're in their cars sleeping. How many of those people could use the knowledge and skills that you gained from not having electricity or running water growing up, or toilet paper? Right? Did you have to use leaves? And again, I'm not trying to be funny. If you had to use leaves to wipe your behind, why not share that with somebody? This is how you clean the leaf. You soak them overnight. And I don't know. I'm just saying. Again, if this is something that you had to do, go online, write a book or something and say, this is a survival guide. This is how I survived as a child. And you could potentially make way more money than any job would ever pay you. But when we hoard that information and we don't share with people, oh, I'm not telling nobody anything. We're just as selfish as the European explorers who came here and took over the land and now make us pay for it and the resources that are associated with it when all of those things used to be free. Like car insurance is one of the biggest scams. Why do we need car insurance? Yes, people have car accidents, and I get it. But there are some people who drive for years and never have an accident. There are some people who live to be 100 years old and drive until they're 80, 90 years old. And again, never have an accident. But they still had to pay insurance. They don't get any of that money back. And the insurance companies are probably trillionaires. The people who own some of these insurance companies. That's the wealth mindset, right? But again, a lot of people have a poverty mindset. I'm going to hoard. I'm going to keep everything to myself, including the knowledge. And I'm not telling anybody anything because, I'm going to keep it for me and mine. And we don't realize that these things are not okay. Because again, we lived in communities and we helped one another. And that's what we're still supposed to do. And like I said before, even when somebody starts a business, a lot of people don't want to do the grassroots work to start the business. But as soon as you start to make money, then they want to call and say, oh, hey, cuz, how you doing? I remember a few years ago, I posted a picture of, I went on vacation or something, and the picture was actually from like maybe a year or two prior, right? I posted it, I believe, on Instagram maybe. And one of my cousins out the blue calls me on Instagram. Maybe it wasn't Instagram, maybe it was Facebook Messenger. I don't know, whichever one of the apps you can call on, right? But I instantly knew what the reason was. People will see a picture and they start to make assumptions. Well, thank you for assuming that I have it like that. I appreciate it. But again, these are the things that happen when people assume that you have something that they can take from you. And they will call you with this woe is me story. Now, I didn't answer because, again, I already knew what it was. I'm good for not answering my phone. I'm good for having my ringer off, right? Unless I know I'm expecting an important call. But people will try to use you if they possibly can, but they don't want to help you. And I had my business for years. And again, I attempted to get my family members to help. Let's do this together. Because people who I know, who their family members help them to start their business, those businesses are now thriving and successful. But those who don't, a lot of them struggle and they fail. And a lot of businesses fail. You know, a lot of people, a lot of celebrities or business owners discuss how they, you know, maybe made 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 attempts before they actually became successful. Especially if you don't come from a background, you know, of or a lineage of entrepreneurs, and this is your, you know, you're a first-time college student, a first-time entrepreneur, or whatever it is. Because one of my cousins, he said that he told my great-grandmother he wanted to start a business, and she said, you better not start no business, you better get you a job. And he's like in his 70s now, and to this day, he still regrets the fact that he didn't start his business. But, you know, him being young at the time and trusting her wisdom, but she was operating from a place of fear. Because again, historically, you know, you have what they call Black Wall Street. It wasn't just Tulsa, Oklahoma. There were Black Wall Streets all across the country. And all they basically were thriving towns of people who look like me. Right? And then, you know, people who don't look like me were jealous of that. So they flooded those towns, they burned those towns down, or they went into those towns, raided them, and, you know, started unaliving people. And so again, that instilled fear in people. Just like with this storm, there were so many people afraid. In the city of Atlanta, a lot of people stayed home. A lot of stores were closed. So businesses lost money, and all it did is rain. And now, I said this yesterday in a video, now the sun is out, so the water is starting to dry up. You may have, like, if there's a puddle, like if there's a pothole or something, and there was a puddle, you might have some ice, you know, in those places because, you know, the hole needs to be filled, so the water didn't seep down into the earth yet. Although I haven't seen that, I'm just saying that that's a possibility. But for the most part, the black ice never accumulated because the temperature was not cold enough for it to accumulate, right? It was just cold. And it's going to be even colder tonight. I should say it was just raining. And so now the sun is out. It's going to dry up all the rain, and the itsy bitsy spider. No, but seriously, the sun is now drying up all the rain. And it's just going to be cold. But, you know, all the black ice, they made, when I tell you people were afraid, the 24-hour laundromat was closed. I have never seen that laundromat closed, ever. But people were afraid to come out of their houses, their homes. Because the news, again, same thing happened when the 19. Oh, don't go anywhere, wear a mask, and all the different things. And I know that there was a new outbreak, and I see some people still wear, you know, that started back wearing masks, but a whole lot of people were like, I'm not falling for that again. And this is not to take away from the people who lost someone, but they, you know, if you want to do the research, they said that a lot of doctors admitted that that wasn't what really happened. And some of those doctors, you know, intentionally did things to make some people not be here anymore. But again, that's a whole nother story that I'm not going to get into. You know, you will have to do your own research and see, you know, what some of those doctors actually said and admitted, after the fact. If you want to, but a lot of people are not going to do that, and that's fine too. I always, no matter what I say, I always say, do your own research. And people get mad because they don't want to do their research. They would rather just, watch silly videos on TikTok and and do dance challenges and high heel shoe squat challenges, and they don't want to get the knowledge that they need to help better their lives and improve their lives. And again, when you're on the outside looking in and you can see what's really going on, it's kind of sad. And I do my best to help people by leading by example. If you want to know how I have joy, if you want to know how, I stay calm, even when I know that someone's trying to provoke me or sabotage me, ask me. I'll be more than happy to share. But most people don't say, oh, I don't want to ask her. Who does she think she is? She's not better than me. She doesn't even have the cars that I have. And she doesn't have the 30-inch bust down weave that I have. And she doesn't even wear makeup. And, all of these different things that people have glorified, because they've been made to think that makes you elite and this makes you exclusive. Child, sit down. Have several seats. But then when I get it, put it on and put it together, honey, they're like, oh. But I don't have to do all of it. I can walk around just like this. I have a position where I wear a hat, and so this suits me just fine. My hair is Earls, honey. It got that good Earl on there. And moisturized and protected. I don't have to wear a wig. I don't have to wear braids. I don't have to wear a weave to protect my hair. I just shampoo, condition it, put a little Earl up in there, a little butter. And it's good. It's healthy. It's growing and all the things. Right? And I'm good with it. And I think that's another thing that people don't like when you're not trying to impress people. Like, how dare you not try to enhance your pretty and impress people like I am. And, have all this dental work done and, wear these weaves and, get your hair fried, dyed, and laid to the side. How dare you not do those things? I've actually been in a place where I've been hiding for a long time. Because again, I know that, and this is not me judging people, but a lot of people are not on the same level in terms of spirituality. I'm very spiritual, and I can see through people's foolishness, and they don't get that. And they swear up and down that they're getting over, and they think that I'm the most naive pushover they've ever met. When again, I can see you. I can see through you. That also intimidates people and make people feel, afraid. Because they know they don't intend to do the right thing. And so when their intentions are not genuine, and they know I can see through them, it's like, uh-oh. But to each his or her own. Keep trying. Roll the dice. Do what makes you happy. Do what you think is best for you. Do what you think you need to do to make you happy. And again, they think they're plotting, scheming, and conniving, and they're laughing. And the more they laugh and think that they're getting over and being slick, the more that they will come to realize at some point that they were not. But again, it's so unfortunate how we treat one another. It's so unfortunate that we have been so far removed, and I mean hundreds of years removed from having community. And I know that there was still a sense of community in the 1960s. But once the drugs really took over and there was more The single parent homes really kind of started heavily in the 70s. So in the 60s, families were still together, communities still helped one another. In the 70s and early 80s, families still helped one another too. But by the time, what was it? Ronald Reagan declared a war on drugs and all the different things. And they put, those things in the community to further break apart the community. Things just took a horrible turn. And we really haven't recouped from that. And then with the 19 in the social distancing, that made us distance ourselves and be separated even more. And now we have these cell phones, so we don't even have to visit one another. You can just send a text message, and in your mind that's checking on somebody. And I'm guilty of it too, because again, this is what the world has become. We're busy. I might think about somebody, and I have every intention of calling, but I'm driving or I'm at work or I'm doing something else. So it's easy to just send a text until you can get to a point where you can make that phone call. But again, people lack trust, and we've become a selfish society. A me, mine. I'm just going to look out for me and mine, and I don't care about anybody else, which again is very detrimental to our communities, but people don't realize that because that's not how it's supposed to be. Because if we're not all doing well, none of us are doing well. It doesn't matter if you live in that house and drive those cars, because if you live in those houses and drive those cars and there's a homeless person down the street from you and they're hungry, they could potentially break into your house or break into your car because they just want to eat. And so it's so sad that we, see these people again as less than, when a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of people are just one paycheck, one illness or injury, one catastrophic situation or incident away from being in the same situation. So I'm not really sure how people can judge someone when they're really kind of close to being in that same situation. Again, at any given time, and this is just one Walmart. Walmart welcomes people to sleep in their cars. So if you're at a Walmart, or if you go to Planet Fitness, sit in your car for a while. Someone else brought this to my attention recently. They were sitting in their car, and they said, I didn't realize how many people would sleep in their car and then get up and go into the gym, work out, take their shower, and then go on about their day. He was just sitting there one day, and he realized, again, a bunch of people got out of their cars to go into the gym, to work out, to take a shower, to go on about their day. Most people aren't paying attention because they're like, oh, I'm good. I'm going in this store to buy do-do-do, do-do-do-do, 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 do-do-do-do. And again, a lot of these people, they're not going to do anything to you. I read an article, the University of Chicago did a study. 40 to 50% of homeless people have jobs. So a lot of people say, oh, they should just get a job, or they just want to do drugs, or they just want to, but they fail to acknowledge what's really going on in this country. And they will blame that person. It's like, I don't know if it was Martin Luther King who said it, or if somebody kind of piggybacked off of what he said. But it's basically like telling people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And when you look down, they're not wearing boots. This is the makeup of America. Right? Foreigners who come to this country, they get money for loans, they get food stamps, they get all kinds of assistance. And they come here and they open up businesses and they can thrive far beyond us. Whereas a lot of the people who were born and raised here, you go into a bank to try to get a loan. Sometimes you can even have a 750 credit score and they still won't give you a loan. And you're sitting there like, I worked hard to get this credit score. How come I can't get a business loan? because they don't want you to have a business alone, because they don't want you to thrive. And if you're not working with other people in your community and pulling your resources and your knowledge and skills together to make said business happen, 9 times out of 10 it's not going to happen, because that's what they do, right? A lot of, like, President Bush, he was not smart enough to go to, I think he went to Harvard or Yale. He wasn't smart enough. He just had the finances and the resources. And then once they go to college, they meet other people who can put them in other positions. A lot of us don't have that. Or we will stop and block somebody because they're not part of this organization or that organization, or they didn't go to this school or that school. And how dare you just come to this city and, think that you're going to eat. I don't want you to eat. I want you to feel like you're less than. And so when you don't, when you don't have all the things that they had, but you still have confidence and you still have intelligence, things that they cannot take away from you, they get mad. Because how dare you? Who do you think you are? Anyway, I hope this conversation was helpful. And as always, I love y'all. Later. Mwah.